Unfortunately, so many people, they might drip their pipes or forget to drip their pipes. And when the temperature goes to below freezing, very, very cold, those pipes will freeze up. Unfortunately, they expand. Once it is no longer freezing, then all of a sudden there's multiple pipe breaks throughout the home. The faster we're out there, the better we can do to mitigate the damage. There's just not enough people out there to handle. When the freeze event happened, it was basically everybody was affected.
You have to spend so much money on this fix and you don't know what to do. You need someone that is going to be calm. It's like that 911 operator who's going to talk you through the issue and the situation. So that's really awesome for ServPro to be able to answer at all times. How do you handle that?
So depending on the loss, some are covered by your traditional insurance policy. And we specialize in insurance claims. Texas homes are not built for those types of conditions. We bring in people from all over. And that's the nice thing about ServPro.
Welcome to High-End Homes Handled Right. This is the Real Property Management Luxury Podcast, hosted by yours truly, Lyndel Johnson. Today, we have an incredible guest. We have Miss Kristina Norlander from ServPro.
Hello.
And today, we're going to dig into something that a lot of property managers and investors have to deal with, especially here in Houston, and that's water damage. What do you do when you have water damage, and basically how can you remediate these issues quickly and efficiently in order to save money and really so that the tenant has the place that they want to live in quickly. Once again, this is Lyndel Johnson. This is High-End Homes Handled Right, the Real Property Management Luxury Podcast. Hey, how are you?
Great. Thank you for inviting me here. I'm really excited to be here.
I'm happy you're here.
Yes.
Especially on this hot Thursday.
Yes. But we are talking about something really important to everybody. Anybody is potential. This could be happening to them. So I'm happy to be here and to talk about water damages and flood insurance and what could happen and how to handle it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for coming. Yeah, so here in Houston and, specifically here, it's, you've got tornadoes at times, you've got water freezing, and you've got, the deep freeze, pipes busting, you've got hurricanes. So water damage is something that happens and occurs.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are a property manager and investor, you may not know what to do. So if you can you tell me, let's just say you get a call.
Yeah.
Hey, I was at my house. I looked up and I saw water leaking from the roof. I thought I turned off all the faucets for the deep freeze, but I guess not.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do when you get that call?
Right. So with ServPro, we are a 24/7 business, 365. We always answer our phone. And actually somebody from our office actually answers the phone. We know that we have to be there for people and not an answering service. So we answer our phones 24/7 and we are emergency responders. So, specifically what could happen, I guess you're talking about a freeze event. Unfortunately, so many people, they might drip their pipes or forget to drip their pipes. And when the temperature goes to below freezing, very, very cold, those pipes will freeze up. And unfortunately, they expand. And then once it is no longer freezing, then all of a sudden, there's multiple pipe breaks throughout the home. And, they will have to call us out because it's a lot of water that comes through. It brings down the ceilings and all of that. So, again, if you are a property manager, an owner of a building or a home, you've got to be able to, answer those calls from, a tenant. And then again, the faster we're out there, the better we can do to mitigate the damage, extract the water, start drying, things like that. So, and it's a difficult time for us when those things happen. And unfortunately, there's just not enough people out there to handle, when the freeze event happened. I mean, it was basically everybody was affected. I don't think I knew anybody that was not affected. So for that,
you said something earlier that really caught my attention, that you answered the phone. That's a big deal. I mean, there are a lot of companies that just the phone just keeps ringing and ringing, and at a time where you're afraid,
right?
You have to spend so much money on this fix, and you don't know what to do. You need someone that is going to be calm. It's like that 911 operator who's going to talk you through the issue and the situation. So that's really awesome for ServPro to be able to, answer at all times.
Right.
So, I can imagine as a homeowner or investor that they're probably worried about that price. Yeah. They're probably like, oh my God, so how do you handle that?
So depending on the loss, so there's multiple losses that could occur to, commercial or residential property. So some are covered by your traditional insurance policy. Okay. And we specialize in insurance claims. That is something ServPro absolutely specializes in. So we know what's generally going to be covered. And if we get into something specialty, we will get the insurance involved, requesting, approvals ahead of time. But depending on the situation, how quickly we have to act, and there's a lot of variables involved, depending on if it's commercial or residential. But we understand that, mitigation, that's what we do, emergency responder, and generally speaking, on a regular insurance policy, we are covered. Our services are covered because the insurance companies want us to get out there quickly and mitigate that loss. And so we don't typically have to pick up a deductible.
Good.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's typically taken on the build back side or the rebuild side, where people can have an opportunity to okay, now I'm going to go find somebody, a contractor to rebuild, and then the deductible's taken out on that side. Mm-hmm.
So you're actually going into something that, my next question was, okay, so you guys went into the house, you've assessed everything, you saw what the issues were, and you started fixing, but do you guys also do the rebuild, like sheetrock repair? Or
we actually do. My office does do rebuild. Not all mitigation companies do provide those services, but we try to be turnkey. And so we can, yes. So, and it's, a lot. We are, again, specialized in insurance claims. So we, again, can be turnkey. So that way they're dealing only with one vendor versus having to, okay, now I got another contractor involved, that might or might not be able to, specialize in insurance claims, because we know how to write it. So that way it's a covered loss.
That's really good. I don't know if, so our audience, it's a mix. You've got, managers of people that manage properties for a long period of time. Mm-hmm. Then you've got people that are new at doing this. Right. So for the people that are new, just know it is really a hassle when you have to go to different vendors to get a job done. When you have to go and find a painter, then after, or you have to find someone that can do sheetrock, and then you have to find, so all these little things. Now you're managing all these different parties, and it's a hassle, especially when you have other things that you need to do.
Right. Or maybe multiple properties that you have to handle. So it's a lot to keep up with.
And that's a great point, because during the winter freeze, you even said it, there were numerous homes. So it wasn't just one or two. It was I think millions of people that were affected during that time. Absolutely. And it's not because, some people, maybe they just didn't, slow drip the faucet, or maybe, that's not the case. I mean, some people actually did all those things, but still woke up with the
affected
Niagara Falls in their living room.
Yeah, Texas homes are not built for those types of conditions. We just are not. Our infrastructure, all of our pipes are exterior pipes. And again, so it was an unusual event. It was a very unusual event, what occurred. And so, yeah, I mean, we have to bring people in from other parts of the country to help, because it is, oh, yes, we do. Mm-hmm. We definitely do. We bring in people from all over. And that's the nice thing about ServPro is it is a national company, and we can call other franchises in to come and help out when needed. Yeah.
Wow.
So we can all help each other out. Yeah.
Wow. Mm-hmm. And you don't just do residential, you also do commercial, correct?
Right. We do commercial property. I mean, with the tornadoes that came through here 3 weeks ago now, and
right.
We've been extremely busy, and that was another unusual event. So many people without power for so long, but I mean, it really tore roofs off, and I mean, pretty major,
Yeah. And an interesting thing about that storm, a lot of people didn't even know it was coming. So, and if you don't expect it,
right.
And all of a sudden, and
right.
That's another thing, is that it's really, make sure that you have your insurance. Make sure, if you don't know about insurance, or you don't know if you have it high enough, or whatever, just make sure that you look into that, because you like you stated, you worked hand in hand with the insurance companies. Have you ever had a situation where you went to a house and they didn't have the insurance?
So let me go over that. So depending on, again, the loss, and let's just maybe go into something that might be happening this summer. So we've got hurricane season, and we all know what's been going on recently. I mean, these rains have been incredible. So a lot of businesses and homes have roof damage existing already because of those high winds that came through. So things are structurally not safe right now, or unstable. And a lot of water is, coming into these structures. But let's talk about, flood insurance. So you're saying okay, what's the policy limit? Or maybe they don't have enough insurance.
Yeah, because if it's, maybe they just overlooked it, and, they felt.
Or never thought about it.
Right. They never, for example, when my wife and I moved here, we moved here from Hawaii. And we were told that where our house was, it wasn't in a flood zone. For example, it wasn't in a flood zone. And then we were here about a week before Harvey.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And the water, literally, we watched how the water was coming up to the door. And we were lucky nothing happened, but it was sleepless nights because we didn't have flood insurance. So I can imagine that happening.
Right.
And then all of a sudden they have to call you.
Right. So when those types of things happen, okay, sir, here's what I recommend. Make sure you get National Flood Insurance Program, NFIP. Okay. It's not expensive as long as you're not in a floodplain. Okay. It's about $800 a year. It gives you $250,000 worth of structural coverage and $100,000 worth in contents coverage. But, most homes, will need probably more insurance than that. You'll probably have to get private insurance that can go over that amount. But with that being said, when we come out, or if you need to hire a company like ours to come out, and I mean, it's devastating if you have a flood. So, you need help. You don't know what to do, right? How to handle this. So we will come out and extract and do all this structural drawing, but it's important to be able to have, we request, it's cash pay. Because when we get into flood insurance and FEMA and all of these things, it's not your traditional homeowner's policy. We can't submit anything on your behalf. So we do request that everything's paid. We give an estimate and then we collect money. It's basically private pay. And then we give you the paperwork and then you submit the claim directly to National Flood.
Got it.
So you got to be able to get cash or have access a way to get cash because it's basically first come, first serve.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a real deal. It's a real deal. But it's so I have seen, over the years, I've been in business now for 22 years and people have had to go into their 401ks. It's because there's so much, possible damage between the mitigation and then the rebuild. Wow. So, again, making sure you do have that insurance, National Flood and private insurance for flooding. Because if you saw after Katrina, and you still go to New Orleans now, and there's blue tarps over people's roofs.
Yeah, I actually was there last month, and there was, you're
still.
Right, there's still buildings with tarp over it.
They can't afford to fix it.
All right.
That is what happened. So they have a certain amount, and FEMA did come in. When it gets to be a large event like that, what happened with Katrina, what happened with Harvey, it was just like very unprecedented. So then they'll even put more money in to get that city back up and running again. But unfortunately, people don't have the money. Like maybe you're on a fixed income, maybe you're retired. Oh, my house is worth, $500,000, but I only got $250,000. Where am I going to come up with the rest of that money? And they can't.
And that I have seen a lot of investors who, they'll purchase a home for investment, and then they'll say, well, my mortgage is $2,000, so I have to rent. The rent has to be $2,000. And when I hear that, that tells me that if an issue like a flood would occur,
they
would not be able to handle that extra cost, especially if you're counting on, my mortgage is only $2,000, my rent has to be exactly that amount.
Right.
So that's another thing too, is, if you're investing in these properties, you really need to think about what could happen and that extra money you need to put into that property, in order for it to, make sure make sure you can sleep good at night, knowing that if anything was to happen, in this rental property will be taken care of, because you don't want to do, taking out of your 401k, for a property that was supposed to be your investment.
Right. You want to have proper insurance.
Get that proper insurance. Make sure you you do everything so you're prepared. And just like we've been saying.
But you do have to have cash.
Right.
So when something happens, like, these tornadoes, like flooding, there's also, we haven't gotten into a Texas windstorm that covers hail, wind damage. Those types of policies they're limited policies. They are not traditional policies. And so therefore you've got to be able to have cash on hand to handle those types of situations.
Once again, here in Houston, be prepared.
Mm-hmm.
Be prepared. If there's anything you take from this, is be prepared for what can happen.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So don't not listen to someone telling you, well, where that house is located. No, be prepared. And if something does happen, make sure that you or your property management company has ServPro. Mm-hmm. They have their number and their
mm-hmm.
And it's also really smart to actually, create a spreadsheet of all your companies that you work with, all your vendors. So, if something like that happens, it's 2:00 in the morning on a Sunday, you could just pull this out and make that
if
phone
we
call.
already have a relationship with you, you are now at the top of the list. So that's really important, because we could honestly, I hate to say this, but we get hundreds if not thousands of phone calls when a big event like that happens. And, we have to decide. We just can't.
Bring us behind the curtain a little bit. So you, God forbid, storm just happened, right? And you're getting hundreds of calls coming in. So how many people are, they're answering the phone calls? You said that everyone answers, right? That someone's always there. So you're getting the calls. And now at what point do you decide, okay, it's time to go to Florida or whatever and get some help from Florida? At what point does that take place, and who does that, and how does that work?
Yeah. So when that kind of things happens, we start, it's called frequency. All of a sudden we get a lot of phone calls. And once it gets to the point where we can't handle them internally, of course, we have an answering service that flips, helps us out, because eventually, it gets to the point where the phones just ring off the hook, right? It's like we're in an answering, like a big company that's just handling so many calls. So then we call our corporate office, and we say, we need help, because there's no way we're going to be able to service everybody. So that's kind of what starts to happen. And it's, so in ServPro, it realizes that too, because they have the 1-800 number as well. So there's our local office that, but then there's the 1-800, and the calls just, they won't stop. They just don't stop. Yeah. Wow. So then once they realized, like what happened with the freeze a couple of years ago, that really bad one, it affected all of Texas and Oklahoma. And so people came in from California, all over the country, even Hawaii, believe it or not, and to help out, because there was, it was, wow, it was incredible. Wow. Yeah.
Well, kudos to you guys.
And we work really hard.
I bet.
Our guys do. Everybody does, actually.
I bet. And so what do you guys do for, now we're going into, I think the hurricane season just started, this week, beginning of the hurricane season. So what do you guys do to prepare for that? Do you start hiring more in preparation for? And
We do. We hire more, and, make sure we have enough supplies, make sure we have enough equipment. Yeah. So, especially after this kind of freaky, tornado situation, it was like, whoa,
right.
We got to get on it right now.
Right.
Yeah.
So now everything now is the operations is planning, future planning of what's going to happen. And
right.
Do we have enough people?
Scale it up.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. But again, when a major event occurs, there's just, you have to bring in additional resources.
Right.
That's just what's, because nobody can handling, thousands of people, maybe even with Houston, it could be millions.
We do have, once again, I say it again, we do have a lot of investors that are from out of state that really don't know this happens all the time too. So what you guys do is very, very important. And so I can't really stress that enough. If you guys are looking for a company that's going to come in, think about ServPro, but don't think about them when it happens. Think about them now, before it happens. We just started in the hurricane season here in Texas, in the Houston area. So this is a great time to, call your ServPro rep, have that conversation beforehand and have a plan. If this happens, you guys are, because I would want to be on the top of the list. So actually, when we're done with this, I'm going to actually give you my my property, so you guys.
Yeah. No, it's really important to establish those relationships ahead of time. Just like we have to prepare, you as investors, property managers, you have to be prepared too, because especially if you're hired to do that, you got to know, who am I going to call when I need help?
So thank you for coming out and giving us your time and really educating us on what happens and what you guys do. And I really, really appreciate it. I would love to have you back on because this was probably one of the most, one of the best episodes we've had. This is, I really enjoyed this one.
Wonderful.
I really enjoyed this one because
it really resonates.
It definitely does. If you're here and they talk about, people that have actually been through a flood, they never get over it. If you've been through a flood like Katrina, sometimes, you're sleeping at night and it's just heavy rain and your mind goes back to that, right? And so having you guys, on your phone, speed dial, will probably help a lot of people be able to sleep better at night. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it. And
thank you so much for having me.
Anytime.
Yeah.
And once again, this is High End Homes Handled Right, the Real Property Management Luxury Podcast. Thank you.